The Tellarites laughed at human battle tactics, their derision echoing through the grand hall of the Galactic Conference. Commander Raxor, his bulbous head swaying with mirth, pointed a stubby finger at the holographic display of Earth's defenses. "Primitive, ineffective, a child's plaything," he sneered, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "Your species is barely out of the mud, and you dare to stand among the stars?" Harry Turner, Earth's diplomat and former military strategist, clenched his fists beneath the conference table. He'd witnessed firsthand the technological marvels of the Tellarite war machine during the tour of their flagship. Their energy shields could deflect asteroids, their plasma cannons could vaporize mountains, their faster-than-light drives made Earth's best rockets look like fireworks. But Harry knew something the Tellarites didn't. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology, it was tenacity. Raxor's laughter subsided, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. "We offer you one chance, humans. Surrender now or face annihilation." The Earth delegates exchanged glances. Harry saw fear in some eyes, determination in others. The decision wasn't theirs to make, but he knew what the answer would be. 12 hours later, the message came from Earth's united government. "We do not yield to threats. We stand ready to defend our home." War was declared. The Tellarites, in their arrogance, broadcast their battle plans across the galaxy. They would crush Earth's outer colonies first, then descend upon the homeworld in a display of overwhelming force. As panic spread across Earth, Harry received an urgent summons. In a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, he stood before the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Harry nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "I'll need a team, the best we have, strategists, engineers, soldiers from every nation." Within hours, Harry's task force assembled. They pored over footage of Tellarite battles, searching for weaknesses in their seemingly impenetrable defenses. Days blurred into nights as they worked tirelessly, fueled by coffee and desperation. Then the first reports came in. Earth's outer colonies overwhelmed by Tellarite forces, millions dead or displaced. On screens worldwide, humans watched their off-world settlements burn. But where others saw defeat, Harry saw opportunity. Each Tellarite victory revealed more about their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. "We can't beat them with brute force," Harry told his team, "but we can outsmart them, use their overconfidence against them." They developed strategies that seemed on the surface suicidal, tactics that went against every convention of modern warfare. But Harry knew that conventional thinking would lead to certain defeat. "This is insanity," one admiral muttered. As the Tellarite fleet approached Earth, Harry's team put their plans into motion. They knew the fate of their species hung in the balance. But they also knew something the Tellarites would soon learn. Humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the aliens who had laughed at human tactics were in for a rude awakening. As the Tellarite fleet approached Earth, Harry's team sprang into action. The first phase of their plan unfolded with precision. Earth's intelligence agencies flooded their networks with tantalizing fragments of data, carefully crafted to catch the eye of Tellarite spies. Harry nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive display dominating the war room. Tiny points of light represented the approaching Tellarite armada. "Let's hope they take the bait." Meanwhile, in a hidden facility beneath the Mojave Desert, Dr. Elena Rodriguez put the finishing touches on Earth's secret weapon. Not the fictional shield buster the Tellarites were chasing, but something far more subtle and potentially devastating. Harry watched as a swarm of stealth satellites silently launched into low Earth orbit. Each one was barely larger than a briefcase, coated in light-absorbing materials that made them nearly invisible to conventional sensors. As they spread out in a carefully calculated web around the planet, Harry allowed himself a small smile. "Now for Phase 2, he muttered. Across the globe, cities transformed. In New York, the subway system became a labyrinth of command centers and shelters. Tokyo's skyscrapers bristled with hidden weaponry. London's underground bunkers hummed with activity as military personnel prepared for the coming storm. Colonel Jack Harper, a grizzled veteran with more combat experience than most of his subordinates combined, oversaw the training of Earth's new asymmetrical warfare units. The soldiers, clad in prototype exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and speed, moved through a simulated urban battlefield. They struck fast and vanished, using their environment in ways that would confound the Tellarites' rigid military doctrine. In orbit, the International Space Station had been transformed into a hub for Earth's improvised solar weapon system. Astronaut Mei Chen calibrated the massive array of mirrors that now surrounded the station. "Mirror network is online," Mei reported. "We can redirect solar energy on command." As Earth prepared, the Tellarite fleet entered the solar system. Harry and his team watched with suspenseful pause as a portion of the alien armada unexpectedly veered towards Mars. "They're splitting their forces," Harry observed, his mind racing. "This could be our chance." Within hours, a plan was formulated. Major Sarah Chen stood before a hand-picked team of Special Forces operatives, outlining their mission. "We're going to Mars," she announced, her voice steady despite the audacity of the plan. "Our job is to sabotage the Tellarite base before they can establish a foothold." The team trained relentlessly, preparing for the harsh Martian environment and the challenges of low-gravity combat. They studied Tellarite physiology and technology, looking for any weakness they could exploit. As the Mars team prepared, the first wave of Tellarite ships entered Earth orbit. They were immediately met with chaos. The jamming satellites activated, scrambling Tellarite communications and navigation systems. In the Tellarite flagship, Commander Raxa bellowed in frustration as his view screens filled with static. "What trickery is this?" he demanded. Before his crew could respond, a brilliant flash of light blinded their external sensors. The orbital mirrors had redirected a concentrated beam of solar energy, temporarily disorienting the Tellarite ships. Taking advantage of the confusion, Earth launched its counterattack. From hidden bases on the Moon, swarms of agile fighter craft emerged. They danced between the massive Tellarite warships, using the Moon's gravity to perform impossible maneuvers. Captain Zara Hendricks led the assault, her voice calm as she directed her pilots. "Remember your training. Hit fast, hit hard, and don't give them time to recover." The space around Earth erupted into a frenzy of plasma bolts and explosions. Tellarite ships collided with each other, their formations thrown into disarray by the combination of jamming technology and unconventional human tactics. But the evidence was clear. The Tellarite advance had been halted, at least temporarily. Raxa grudgingly ordered a retreat to regroup and reassess their strategy. As the Tellarite fleet withdrew to a safe distance, Harry allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, but he knew the battle was just getting started. "We've bought ourselves some time," he told his team. "Now we need to make it count." With the immediate threat pushed back, attention turned to the Mars mission. Major Chen and her team boarded their stealth transport, specially designed to evade Tellarite detection. As they prepared for launch, Harry received an urgent message. Tellarite communications had been intercepted, revealing that they were developing countermeasures to Earth's jamming technology. "We're in a race against time," Harry announced to the war room. "We need to strike at Mars before the Tellarites can adapt to our tactics." The stealth transport lifted off, carrying Major Chen's team and Earth's hopes for turning the tide of the war. As it accelerated towards Mars, Harry turned his attention back to the main display, where the regrouping Tellarite fleet loomed like a storm on the horizon. The next phase of the battle was about to begin, and Harry knew that every decision, every improvisation, could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. Humanity had surprised the Tellarites once. Now they needed to do it again on an even grander scale. The stealth transport carrying Major Sarah Chen and her team sliced through the Martian atmosphere, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Tellarite sensors. As they descended towards the rust-colored surface, Sarah studied the topographical map of their landing zone. Lieutenant Ravi Kumar activated their camouflage systems, projecting a holographic image of the undisturbed Martian landscape over the cave entrance. "Camo's up, Major. We're invisible to both visual and thermal scans." Sarah nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Good. Now we see what our alien friends are up to." Back on Earth, Harry Turner stood before a wall of screens in the war room, each displaying real-time data from the ongoing conflict. He turned to Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez, who had just arrived from her lab in the Mojave Desert. "What have you got for me, Elena?" Harry asked, his voice tight with anticipation. Eleanor's eyes gleamed with excitement. "We've cracked it, Harry. An electromagnetic pulse weapon designed to exploit the weakness we found in their shields. It's not pretty, but it works." Harry allowed himself a small smile. "Excellent. How soon can we get them into production?" "We've already started. Factories worldwide are retooling as we speak. We should have the first batch ready within 48 hours. As they discussed deployment strategies, alarms blared across the complex. A junior officer rushed up to Harry, his face pale. "Sir, we're detecting multiple Tellarite ships entering the atmosphere. They're launching probing attacks on our defense installations." Harry's mind raced, analyzing the situation. "They're testing us, looking for weaknesses. Well, let's show them what humanity can do. Activate Protocol Hydra." Across the globe, Earth's defenders sprang into action. In the ruins of a bombed-out city, a squad of soldiers in exoskeletons lay in wait. As a Tellarite landing craft touched down, they burst from their hiding places, using the rubble as cover. Their enhanced strength and speed allowed them to close the distance rapidly, catching the Tellarites off guard. Similar scenes played out worldwide. Human forces used guerrilla tactics, striking hard and fast before melting away into the landscape. The Tellarites, accustomed to overwhelming force, found themselves constantly wrong-footed by the humans' unconventional approach. On Mars, Major Chen's team conducted their first reconnaissance mission. They crept along the ridgeline of a massive crater, using their advanced optics to scan the Tellarite base below. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she saw what they were constructing. "Command, are you seeing this?" she whispered into her comm. Harry's voice crackled back. "We see it, Major. That's one hell of a cannon they're building." The Tellarite base bustled with activity, centered around a massive energy weapon under construction. Its barrel stretched towards the sky, easily large enough to swallow a small ship. "If they get that thing operational, they could hit Earth from here," Sarah said, her mind already formulating a plan. "We need to take it out." As Sarah's team prepared for their sabotage mission, a new face entered the war room on Earth. Dr. Elias Vega, a lanky man with piercing green eyes, approached Harry with a datapad in hand. "Mr. Turner, I have something you need to see," Vega said, his voice urgent. "I've been studying Tellarite biology, and I think I've found a way to stop them without killing them." Harry raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Vega explained his discovery. A bioweapon that could incapacitate Tellarites without causing permanent harm. As he detailed the science behind it, Harry's expression grew troubled. "This is not quite a step, Dr. Vega," Harry said, his voice low. "Using a bioweapon, even a non-lethal one, could have serious repercussions." Vega nodded solemnly. "I understand the ethical concerns, Mr. Turner, but if it comes down to this or annihilation—" Harry took the datapad, his mind wrestling with the implications. "We'll keep this in reserve. For now, let's focus on conventional tactics." On Mars, Sarah's team took advantage of a raging dust storm to infiltrate the Tellarite base. They moved like shadows through the swirling red haze, planting explosives at key structural points. As they approached the massive energy cannon, a Tellarite patrol emerged from the gloom. "Contact!" Lieutenant Kumar hissed over the comm. In an instant, the air was filled with the sizzle of plasma bolts and the sharp crack of human weaponry. Sarah's team fought with precision and skill, their exoskeletons allowing them to dodge and weave with inhuman speed. They used the Martian terrain to their advantage, ducking behind rock formations and using their grappling hooks to quickly change elevation. As the firefight intensified, Sarah realized they were running out of time. "Kumar, Ju, cover me!" she shouted, sprinting towards the cannon. She planted the last explosive at its base, her fingers flying over the detonator. But as they turned to retreat, they saw their transport erupt in a ball of flame. Tellarite reinforcements had arrived, cutting off their escape route. "Command, we are cut off," Sarah reported, her voice steady despite the dire situation. Mission accomplished, but we need an alternate extraction plan. Back on Earth, Harry had no time to address the Mars team's predicament. The main Tellarite fleet had arrived, launching a massive assault on Earth's defenses. Raxor, the Tellarite commander, had apparently decided to end this war through sheer force of numbers. "They're using a new type of energy shield," Eleanor reported, her fingers flying over her console. "Our conventional weapons can't penetrate it." Across Earth's orbit, hundreds of mirrors realigned, focusing the sun's energy into searing beams. The Tellarite fleet's formation was thrown into chaos as ships veered to avoid the deadly light. Earth's fighters swarmed through the broken Tellarite lines, engaging in close-quarters combat. The new EMP weapons proved devastatingly effective, disabling Tellarite ships with bursts of electromagnetic energy. As the space battle raged, Harry received another urgent message. The Mars team had successfully destroyed the Tellarite base and the energy cannon, but they were now stranded on the Red Planet, with enemy forces closing in. Harry looked at the tactical display, watching as more and more Tellarite ships poured into the solar system. They were holding their own for now, but the sheer number of enemy forces was overwhelming. His eyes drifted to the datapad containing Dr. Vega's bioweapon research. With a heavy heart, Harry made his decision. "Prepare the orbital platforms for bioweapon deployment," he ordered, "and get me a secure line to Major Chen on Mars. We're not leaving our people behind." As the orders went out, Harry watched the battle unfold on the main screen. Earth's forces fought with incredible skill and persistence, but the Tellarites' superior numbers were slowly but surely pushing them back. The next few hours would determine the fate of humanity, and Harry knew that every decision he made could tip the balance between victory and annihilation. In his flagship, Raxor watched the battle with growing frustration, and though he would never admit it, a grudging respect. These humans were proving far more resourceful and resilient than he had ever imagined. As another of his ships fell to the humans' strange new weapons, Raxor began to wonder if perhaps they had underestimated this young species after all. Harry Turner's finger hovered over the launch button, his conscience waging a silent war. The bioweapon developed by Dr. Elias Vega represented a Rubicon he had hoped never to cross. But as another barrage of Tellarite fire lit up the war room's main screen, he knew there was no other choice. "Activate Protocol Omega," he ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision. Within moments, Earth's orbital platforms released a cloud of microscopic particles into the vacuum of space. The bioagent, designed to target Tellarite physiology, infiltrated the enemy fleet's life support systems with ruthless efficiency. On the Tellarite flagship, Raxor's triumphant snarl turned to confusion as his crew began to falter. Warriors who moments ago had been operating complex systems with practiced ease now fumbled at their controls, their movements uncoordinated and weak. Aboard Earth's lead fighter squadron, Captain Jack Reynolds received the go-ahead to engage. "All wings, form up on me," he commanded. "The Tellarites are on the ropes. Let's show them what we can do." Reynolds' fighters swooped in, their agile craft dancing between the now erratic fire of the Tellarite ships. EMP weapons flashed, shorting out shields and weapons systems. The space around Earth lit up with explosions as disabled Tellarite vessels collided or succumbed to concentrated fire. Raxor, his own mind fighting against the effects of the bioweapon, realized the battle was lost. "All ships, emergency retreat," he growled, his words slurring. "Fall back to secondary positions." As the Tellarite fleet began its chaotic withdrawal, Reynolds and his pilots pressed their advantage. They picked off stragglers and crippled engines, ensuring that a significant portion of the invading force would never make it out of Earth's orbit. Meanwhile, on the red plains of Mars, Major Sarah Chen and her team found themselves in dire straits. Tellarite forces closed in from all sides, their transport destroyed, and no clear path of escape. "3 high-yield, 6 standard, ma'am." Minutes later, Sarah's team sprinted across the Martian landscape, Tellarite plasma bolts sizzling the air around them. They ducked into the narrow canyon, the pursuing aliens hot on their heels. As the Tellarites entered the ravine, Sarah gave the signal. Kumar and Ju detonated the carefully placed explosives, bringing tons of rock and dust down onto their enemies. The ground shook, and a cloud of red dust billowed into the thin Martian atmosphere. When the dust settled, the canyon entrance was completely sealed off. The immediate threat was neutralized, but Sarah knew they were still far from safe. "Command, this is Major Chen," she radioed. "We've bought some time, but we're still stranded. Any chance of extraction?" Back in the war room, Harry received Sarah's transmission with mixed emotions. He was relieved they were alive, but acutely aware of their precarious situation. Before he could respond, another communication came through on a secure channel. A Tellarite face appeared on the screen, feminine features marked with obvious stress. "My name is Zix," the alien said. "I am a scientist aboard one of the Tellarite ships. I wish to defect." Harry's eyebrows shot up. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I have information that could end this war," Zix replied, "and because I never wanted this conflict in the first place." While Earth's forces celebrated their victories in space and on the ground, new challenges were emerging. On the Tellarite flagship, Raxor faced a mutiny. Officers, their minds clouded by the bioweapon and their spirits broken by defeat, turned on their commander. With a roar of defiance, Raxor struck, his superior strength allowing him to disarm the mutineer despite his impaired condition. "I am still in command here," he snarled, executing the traitor on the spot. "Any who challenge me will meet the same fate." The rebellion was quelled, but at a cost. Raxor was forced to eliminate several of his most experienced officers, leaving his command structure in tatters. On Earth's moon, Commander Elena Sato watched with growing alarm as a segment of the Tellarite fleet, seemingly unaffected by the bioweapon, approached the lunar bases. The lunar surface lit up with weapons fire as the Tellarites began their assault. Sato coordinated her forces with practiced skill, but she knew they were overstretched. The moon bases housed critical components of Earth's defense network. If they fell, the planet would be vulnerable once again. As the battle raged across the Earth-Moon system, Dr. Vega worked feverishly in his lab. The bioweapon had proven more effective than he had ever imagined, but his initial elation had given way to horror as he discovered its true nature. "The agent doesn't just incapacitate," he muttered to himself, poring over data streams. "It's altering their genetic structure. If we don't find an antidote, the entire Tellarite species could be sterilized within a generation." The tactical situation was shifting by the minute. Earth had gained the upper hand, but at what cost? And now, as long-range sensors detected a massive object approaching from the outer solar system, Harry Turner realized that the true test was yet to come. The sensor operator's voice was grim. "Sir, it appears to be some kind of superweapon. Energy readings are off the charts. If it reaches Earth—" Harry didn't need him to finish the sentence. He understood all too well what was at stake. As reports flooded in from all fronts, the stranded team on Mars, the desperate defense of the moon bases, the potential Tellarite defector, and the looming threat of the superweapon, he knew that the next few hours would determine not just the outcome of the war, but the very survival of both species. With a deep breath, Harry began to formulate a plan. It would require every resource at humanity's disposal, and perhaps even the help of those among the enemy who sought peace. The final battle was approaching, and the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. Harry Turner's eyes narrowed as he studied the approaching superweapon on the main screen. The massive object dwarfed even the largest Tellarite ships, its energy readings off the charts. Time was running out, but a plan was already forming in his mind. As his team scrambled to establish communications, Harry turned to Dr. Vega. "Doctor, how quickly can you refine that bioweapon and develop an antidote?" Vega's fingers flew over his tablet. "With Zix's help, we might be able to do it in a matter of hours, but Harry, the ethical implications—" "We don't have time for ethics," Harry cut him off. "Just do it and make sure that antidote works." Soon the war room's screens lit up with the faces of his key personnel. Harry laid out his plan, each word crisp and clear despite the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Major Chen, You'll use the captured Tellarite base to broadcast a message to that superweapon. Zix will provide you with the necessary protocols. Captain Reynolds, prepare your fleet for an intercept course. Commander Sato, once you've secured the moon bases, I need you to lead a boarding party onto Raxa's command ship. As his officers acknowledged their orders, Harry turned to Zix. I need you to help us modify our planetary defense grid with Tellarite tech. Can you do it? The Tellarite scientist nodded, her eyes gleaming with tenacity. It will not be easy, but it can be done. I will need access to your systems and a team of your best engineers. On Mars, Major Sarah Chen and her team raced against time to prepare their transmission. The Tellarite base, still bearing scorch marks from their earlier assault, hummed with activity as they worked to integrate Zix's protocols into the communication systems. Kumar, how's that signal strength? Sarah called out, her eyes never leaving the console before her. Boosted to maximum, Major, Kumar replied. We should be able to reach that superweapon as soon as it enters the solar system. Ju approached, datapad in hand. Message is ready, ma'am. It's quite powerful. Do you think it'll work? Sarah's lips pursed firmly. It has to. All right, people, let's light this candle. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1. The message beamed out into space, carrying with it the desperate hopes of two worlds. Encoded within were images and data of the Tellarite homeworld, its dying ecosystems, and the plight of its people. It was an appeal not to conquerors, but to fellow beings facing extinction. In Earth's orbit, Captain Jack Reynolds's fleet formed up, a phalanx of sleek fighters and battle-scarred cruisers. His voice crackled over the comm system, steady and resolute. All wings report in. Remember, we're packing Dr. Vega's refined bioweapon and the antidote. Our job is to disable, not destroy. That superweapon is our ticket to ending this war. As Reynolds' fleet moved into position, Commander Elena Sato led her team onto a stealth shuttle. The recent defense of the moon bases had been costly, but the fire in Sato's eyes showed she was far from defeated. Listen up, she addressed her boarding party. We're going after Raxa himself. This isn't just about capturing their leader. It's about breaking their chain of command. Stay sharp. Stay alive. Their shuttle slipped away from the moon, using the chaos of the ongoing battle as cover as they approached Raxa's massive flagship. Back on Earth, Harry and Zix worked feverishly to modify the planetary defense grid. The war room had become a maze of holographic displays and tangled cables as human and Tellarite technology merged. Reroute the power through this node, Zix instructed, pointing to a glowing diagram. It will amplify the output by a factor of 10. Harry's fingers flew over the controls, sweat beading on his brow. If this works, we'll have a shield strong enough to withstand that superweapon's initial barrage. If it doesn't... As the superweapon entered Earth's orbit, the combined forces of humanity sprang into action. Reynolds' fleet struck first, a coordinated barrage of EMP bursts and bioweapon canisters peppering the massive construct. The weapon's outer defenses flickered and failed, and sensors showed widespread disruption among its crew. Earth's modified defense grid activated, a shimmering energy field expanding to envelop the planet. The superweapon fired, a beam of unimaginable power lancing out towards Earth. It struck the shield, and for a heart-stopping moment, the entire grid fluctuated. But it held. It worked, Harry exclaimed, allowing himself a brief moment of triumph before focusing on the next phase. Insane is what we do best, Sarah replied, her hands steady on the controls. Prepare for touchdown, we're going in hot. Their ship latched onto the superweapon's hull, magnetic clamps engaging with a resounding thunk. Sarah led her team out onto the surface, their mag boots the only thing keeping them from drifting into space. They located an airlock and began cutting their way inside. Meanwhile, Commander Sato's boarding party had successfully infiltrated Raxa's flagship. They fought their way through corridors filled with disoriented Tellarite crew, many already affected by the bioweapon. Sato reached the bridge first, bursting through the doors to find Raxa waiting for her. The Tellarite commander was massive, his muscles rippling beneath his armored suit. But Sato saw the glassy look in his eyes. The bioweapon was affecting him too. You've lost, Raxa, Sato declared, settling into a fighting stance. "Surrender now and we can end this without further bloodshed." Raxa's response was a roar of defiance as he charged at her. Sato ducked under his swing, years of training taking over as she fought the much larger opponent. Despite his superior strength, Raxa's movements were sluggish and uncoordinated. Sato used this to her advantage, landing precise strikes and wearing him down. With a final, decisive move, Sato swept Raxa's legs out from under him. The Tellarite commander crashed to the deck, and before he could rise, Sato had her weapon trained on him. "Stand down," she ordered. "It's over." Inside the superweapon, Sarah's team fought their way towards the control center. They encountered pockets of resistance, but many of the Tellarite crew seemed conflicted, the message about their homeworld clearly having an impact. They reached the control center to find it in chaos. Tellarite officers argued amongst themselves, some insisting on continuing the attack, others demanding they stand down. Sarah stepped forward, her weapon lowered but ready. "We don't have to be enemies," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "Your world is dying, ours is under threat. But together, we might have a chance to save both." Her words, combined with the effects of the bioweapon and the raw emotion of their situation, tipped the balance. The Tellarite commander of the superweapon, his features etched with weariness, looked at Sarah. As both the superweapon and Raxa's flagship stood down, Harry opened a channel to the remaining Tellarite fleet. The war room fell silent as he prepared to address them, the fate of two species hanging on what would happen next. "This is Harry Turner of Earth," he began, his voice steady. "Your invasion has failed, but we are not here to destroy you. We propose a ceasefire and offer a chance for our races to work together. Your homeworld can be saved, but only if we combine our knowledge and resources." He paused, watching the reactions of the Tellarite commanders on the screen. Some looked skeptical, others hopeful. Harry knew that what he said next would shape the future of human-Tellarite relations for generations to come. "The choice is yours," he continued. "We can continue this war until one or both of our species are wiped out, or we can forge a new path, one of cooperation and mutual survival. What say you?" You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.